a massive explosion. More powerful than 1,000 atomic bombs, erupts not over a city, not on a battlefield, but above a silent forest in the remote heart of Siberia. In a single instant, trees are flattened across an area larger than London. The shockwave is so intense, it's felt halfway around the world. Yet when scientists finally reach the center of the blast, there's no crater.
Look here, the trees are flattened radially from the center.
Remarkable. What force could cause such devastation?
It defies explanation, Professor.
No meteorite, no impact site, just millions of trees lying on their sides, and a mystery that has baffled humanity for more than a century. What could cause such unimaginable destruction if nothing even touched the ground? This is the story of the Tunguska event, one of the most powerful and puzzling explosions in recorded history. June 30th, 1908, a calm summer morning in central Siberia. The forest stood quiet beneath a clear blue sky. Villagers were beginning their day, unaware that the world above them was about to tear open. At exactly 7:17 a.m., a blinding fireball streaked across the horizon, so bright it outshone the sun. Witnesses described it as a glowing sphere with a fiery tail racing toward the Earth. Some called it a flying star. Others swore the sky itself had split apart. One man, S. Semenov, sat at a trading post roughly 65 kilometers from the epicenter. He looked up and saw the heavens ignite. The northern sky burst into flames, and a wave of scorching heat slammed into him so violently he thought his shirt would catch fire. Then came the explosion. A sound like the end of the world, a deafening blast that shattered windows, hurled people off their feet, and echoed like endless gunfire rolling across the plains. Even people hundreds of kilometers away felt the shock wave tremble beneath their boots. Moments later, a light brighter than the sun swept across the forest. Trees burst into flames. Entire sections of woodland collapsed in an instant, falling like dominoes in every direction. When the chaos faded, 80 million trees lay flattened in a circle spanning more than 2,000 square kilometers, an area larger than many modern cities. The once peaceful wilderness had been obliterated. You'd think scientists would have rushed to investigate such a cataclysm right away. But they didn't. Not that day, not that month, not even that decade. Incredibly, it would take almost 20 years before a research team finally reached the site. Why? 3 reasons: isolation, silence, and chaos. First, the blast happened in one of the most remote places on Earth, deep in the Siberian wilderness. There were no roads, no towns, and no way to communicate. Back in 1908, news traveled slowly, and reports of strange lights and thunderous sounds from an uninhabited region barely reached the outside world. Second, there was no system to verify or relay the event. No radio, no telegraph signals, no photographs. It was as if the forest swallowed its own secret. And third, Russia soon fell into turmoil. World War I, the Revolution, and the Civil War left no room for an expedition into a swampy wasteland. It wasn't until 1927 that a proper scientific team, led by Russian mineralogist Leonid Kulik, finally made the difficult journey. He believed a massive meteor had struck the Earth and expected to find a huge crater as proof. But what they discovered was far stranger. They found a vast region of devastation, trees blown outward from a central point, charred and splintered. Yet at the very center, an area now called the telegraph poles, the trees still stood upright, stripped bare of bark and branches like silent witnesses. There was no crater, no debris, no meteorite. Whatever hit Tunguska had released an extraordinary amount of energy and then simply vanished. For decades, scientists searched for answers. The first major theory was the comet hypothesis. Comets are giant balls of ice, dust, and gas, not solid rock. If one entered Earth's atmosphere, the intense heat and pressure could cause it to explode mid-air, vaporizing completely before ever reaching the ground. This could explain why there was no crater or meteor fragments, only a colossal shockwave that flattened the forest. Even stranger, after the explosion, people across Europe reported glowing skies at night, so bright they could read newspapers outdoors. Scientists believed that this eerie light came from tiny ice particles high in the atmosphere, possibly remnants of the comet itself. For years, the comet theory seemed to fit perfectly, but as science advanced, it began to unravel. No trace of comet material was ever found, no frozen residue, no chemical signatures, no lasting proof. And that's when a new idea emerged: the asteroid theory. Today, most experts agree that Tunguska was caused by a solid, stony asteroid, roughly 50 to 60 meters wide. It entered the atmosphere at tremendous speed and exploded at an altitude of about 5 to 10 kilometers, releasing 10 to 15 megatons of energy, roughly 1,000 times the power of the Hiroshima bomb. The explosion's shockwave explains the radial pattern of flattened trees, all pointing away from a central point. But for years, one question lingered. If it was an asteroid, where were the pieces? Decades of searching turned up no large fragments, and this mystery kept the debate alive. Then, in 2020, a new theory emerged, one that may finally connect the dots. What if the asteroid didn't explode at all? Some scientists now believe the object could have been made of solid iron, not fragile rock. Iron is much tougher and could have survived the extreme heat and pressure of atmospheric entry. But here's the twist. It may not have been a direct hit. Instead, it could have entered Earth's atmosphere at a shallow angle, skimming across it like a stone skipping over water. This grazing asteroid model explains the lack of an impact crater and why the explosion occurred high above the ground before the object possibly ricocheted back into space. More than a century later, the Tunguska event remains one of Earth's greatest cosmic mysteries. It reminds us that even in our age of satellites and science, there are still moments when nature and the universe defy complete explanation. Over the years, wild theories have surfaced: alien spacecraft, black holes, secret weapons, but none have held up to scientific scrutiny. Researchers have modeled the explosion with modern computers, studied tree rings, analyzed soil samples, and yet the truth remains elusive. No crater, no debris, just silence and speculation in the Siberian wilderness. So what really happened that morning in 1908? Did a comet vaporize in the sky? Did a rocky asteroid shatter midair? Or did a metallic visitor from space glance off our planet and continue its journey through the stars? One explosion, 100 years, and still no answers. If you find cosmic mysteries as fascinating as I do, I'd love to hear your theory in the comments below. Which explanation convinces you most? The icy comet, the exploding asteroid, or the cosmic ricochet?